The emergency alarm screamed through Kepler Station like a wounded animal. Commander Jake Martinez ran down the metal hallway, his boots hitting the floor hard with each step. The lights flashed red, and people moved quickly past him. Something was very wrong. Jake reached the communication center and saw his team already working. The main screen showed space filled with fire and explosions. Ships were dying out there, and someone was calling for help. "What do we have?" Jake asked, breathing. Hard Officer Lucy Thompson looked up from her station. Her face was pale. "It's the Zephyrian home system, sir. They're under attack. The whole planet is burning." Jake moved closer to the screen. He had visited Zephyria Prime many times. It was a beautiful world covered in crystal cities that sparkled, like diamonds in the sun. The Zephyrians were good people. They never hurt anyone. They just mined minerals and shared their technology with everyone in the galaxy. Now their world was dying. "Who's attacking them?" Jake asked. "The hegemony," Lucy said. "They brought everything. Battleships, destroyers, planet crackers. The Zephyrians don't stand a chance." Jake watched the screen in horror. Zephyrian ships tried to fight back, but they were miners, not warriors. Their vessels were built for work, not war. The hegemony ships were huge and deadly. They moved through space like sharks hunting fish. "Sir, we're getting a direct message from Zephyrian leader Vexhi," Lucy said. "Put it through." The screen changed. A tall, thin alien appeared. His skin looked like blue crystal, and his eyes glowed with inner light. This was Vexhi, someone Jake had met before. But now the Zephyrian leader looked tired and scared. "Commander Martinez," Vexhi said. His voice was shaking. "We need help. The hegemony came without warning. They want our mining worlds. They don't care about our people. Please, we are sending requests to all Galactic Council members. You must help us." "How many ships do they have?" Jake asked. "Over 600. We only have 40 left. Our cities are burning. Our children are hiding in caves. Please, Earth has always been our friend. Can you help us?" Jake felt sick. 600 ships against 40. It was not a battle, it was murder. "I'll contact Earth immediately," Jake promised. "Hold on as long as you can." The message ended. Jake turned to his team. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command, now." While they worked, Jake thought about the Zephyrians. They had been part of the Galactic Council for over 200 years. They shared their crystal technology with everyone. They helped build space stations and mining colonies across the galaxy. When other species needed rare minerals, the Zephyrians always helped. And now they were dying, and no one was coming to save them. "Earth Command is ready, sir," Lucy said. Captain Lisa Brown appeared on the screen. She commanded the Earth ship, Defiance, one of the best ships in the human fleet. Lisa was tough and smart. If anyone could help, it would be her. "Jake, I've been watching the feeds from Zephyria Prime," Lisa said. "It's bad, really bad. The Galactic Council has to do something," Jake said. "The Zephyrians are members. There are laws about this." Lisa shook her head. "I've been listening to Council communications. Every species is saying the same thing. They can't help. Too dangerous, too expensive, not their problem." "What?" Jake could not believe it. "They're abandoning them?" "Watch this," Lisa said. The screen split. Now Jake could see the emergency Galactic Council meeting. Representatives from dozens of species sat in a huge chamber. Each one looked uncomfortable. The Andronian representative spoke first. "While we feel sorry for the Zephyrians, Andronios cannot risk war with the hegemony. Our resources are needed elsewhere." The Trilaxian delegate nodded. "Trilaxis agrees. The hegemony is too strong. We cannot help." One by one, each species said the same thing. "Cannot help. Too dangerous. Not possible. Sorry." Jake watched in shock as the entire galaxy turned its back on the Zephyrians. These were supposed to be allies, friends, members of the same council. But when the Zephyrians needed them most, they all walked away. The last to speak was the council president, a proud Valorian named Supreme Chancellor Zethkol. "The Galactic Council has voted. The Zephyrian system is too dangerous to defend. We cannot risk a galactic war for one species. The Council hereby declares the Zephyrian system outside our protection zone. May the cosmos have mercy on them. Jake felt angry and sick. The Council was abandoning the Zephyrians to die. They were going to let the hegemony destroy an entire civilization because it was easier than fighting. Then someone stood up in the council chamber. It was Ambassador Carl Davis from Earth. He was an older man with gray hair, but his voice was strong and clear. "This is wrong," Carl said. "The Zephyrians trusted us, they shared their technology. They helped build our stations, they sang songs for our children. And now we're going to let them die because we're scared?" "Sit down, human," Chancellor Zeth Cole said. "The vote is finished." "No," Carl said. "I won't sit down. You're all cowards. Every one of you. You take what the Zephyrians give you, but when they need help, you run away like children." Carl looked around the chamber. "Earth does not accept this vote. We do not abandon our friends. Earth is one small world with a tiny fleet," the Chancellor said. "What can you possibly do?" Carl smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We'll see." The ambassador walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the other representatives started talking loudly. Some looked worried, others looked angry. Jake turned to Lisa. "What happens now?" "Now we find out what Earth is really made of," Lisa said. "I'm getting new orders. We're heading home. Emergency speed." "And the Zephyrians?" Lisa looked sad. "They're on their own, just like we might be soon." The communication ended. Jake stood in the quiet room, watching the screen show Zephyria Prime burning. Somewhere out there, Zephyrian families were hiding in caves while their world died. And the galaxy was going to let it happen. But maybe Earth would not let it happen. Maybe humans were different from the rest of the galaxy. Maybe they would stand up when everyone else sat down. Jake hoped so, because if they did not, an entire civilization would die, and the galaxy would never be the same. President Amy Foster sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by her top military leaders. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. On the main screen, they could see the battle happening light years away. Zephyria Prime was burning, and Earth had to decide what to do about it. General Peter Quinn looked tired. He had been studying the numbers all night. "Madam President, the facts are simple. The hegemony has over 600 ships. We have 16. If we fight them, we will lose. All of us will die, and Earth will be defenseless." Admiral Nancy Wright nodded. "Our fleet is good, but we're not miracle workers. The hegemony has been building their military for 50 years. They have planet crackers, weapons that can destroy worlds. We don't." Amy looked at the faces around the table. These were good people, smart people. They had kept Earth safe for years, but now they were scared, and she understood why. Dr. Helen Murphy, Earth's top alien expert, had been quiet during the meeting. Now she spoke up. "May I show you something?" Amy nodded. "Go ahead." Helen walked to the screen and pressed some buttons. The images of war disappeared. Instead, they heard music. It was beautiful and strange, like wind chimes mixed with singing. The melody was sad but hopeful. "This is a Zephyrian children's song," Helen said. "They sent it to us 3 years ago as a gift. It's called Friends Across the Stars. Zephyrian children learn it when they're very young. It's about how friendship can cross any distance." The music filled the room. Amy had heard it before, but now it sounded different. Now she knew the children who sang it might be dead soon. "They've sent us hundreds of these songs," Helen continued. "Art, stories, poems. They wanted to share their culture with us. They wanted to be our friends." Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Bell had been silent until now. He was a Marine, a fighter. He had scars on his hands from battles on distant worlds. "I've been to Zephyria Prime," he said. "The people there are good. They don't have armies because they don't believe in war. They think problems should be solved by talking, not fighting. That's exactly why we can't help them," General Quinn said. "It's not our fight." Ryan stood up. His voice was calm but strong. "Sir, with respect, it is our fight. We've never left anyone behind. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us different from everyone else in this galaxy. Amy thought about her choices. Earth was small compared to other worlds. They had fewer ships, fewer weapons, fewer people. But they had something else. They had a history of doing the right thing even when it was hard. What about the other council members? Amy asked. Will any of them change their minds? Ambassador Carl Davis, who had just returned from the council meeting, shook his head. No, they're all too scared. The hegemony has threatened to attack anyone who helps the Zephyrians. Every species is thinking about themselves first. So, if we help, we'll be alone? Completely alone, Carl said. It will be Earth against the hegemony. No one else will stand with us. The room was quiet again. Amy looked at each person. She could see the fear in their eyes, but she could also see something else. They wanted to help. They knew it was right, even if it was dangerous. How long do the Zephyrians have? Amy asked. Maybe a week, Admiral Wright said. Their defenses are falling fast. Soon there won't be anyone left to save. Amy thought about the children's song. She thought about the crystal cities she had seen in photos. She thought about what Earth stood for. Then she made her decision. We're going to help them, she said. General Quinn looked shocked. Madam President, this could mean the end of Earth. Maybe, Amy said. But if we don't help, it will definitely mean the end of Zephyria Prime. And if we let that happen, what kind of people are we? She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see Washington, D.C. spreading out below her. Millions of people lived there. They trusted her to keep them safe. But keeping them safe did not just mean protecting their bodies. It meant protecting their souls. I didn't become president to make easy choices, Amy said. I became president to make right choices. And this is right. She turned back to the group. Admiral Wright, prepare the fleet. I want every ship we have ready to leave in 6 hours. All of them? Nancy asked. That leaves Earth completely undefended. Yes, all of them. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. General Quinn, I want every Marine ready for ground operations. Dr. Murphy, work with the science team. Find out everything you can about Zephyrian technology. Maybe there's something that can help us. What about the Galactic Council? Ambassador Davis asked. Amy smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Tell them Earth is withdrawing from the Council. We're done pretending that politics is more important than people. The meeting broke up quickly. Everyone had work to do. As the others left, Ryan Bell stayed behind. You know this is probably suicide, he said. I know, Amy replied, but it's the right kind of suicide. The troops will follow you. Marines don't like bullies, and the hegemony are the biggest bullies in the galaxy. Amy nodded. What about the people? What will they say when they find out? Ryan thought for a moment. They'll be scared, but they'll also be proud. Humans don't like to see the strong pick on the weak. Never have. That evening, Amy spoke to the nation. She explained the situation simply. The Zephyrians were in trouble. The galaxy had abandoned them. Earth was going to help even though it was dangerous. The reaction was immediate. Some people were angry. They said it was not Earth's problem. Others were scared. They worried about what would happen to Earth if the mission failed. But many people supported the decision. They remembered the Zephyrian gifts, the songs, the art. They remembered that Earth had always helped others even when it was hard. In coffee shops and offices, people talked about the choice. Parents explained to their children why sometimes you have to stand up to bullies even when they're bigger than you. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Lisa Brown received her orders. The Defiance would lead the fleet to Zephyria Prime. It would be the longest journey the human fleet had ever made, and the most dangerous. Lisa called her crew together. Pilot Sam Rodriguez looked excited. Engineer Katie Williams looked nervous, but determined. Marine Sergeant Tony Adams was cleaning his rifle, getting ready for battle. You all know what we're doing, Lisa said. We're going to fight the biggest, nastiest fleet in the galaxy. We probably won't win. We probably won't come home. Anyone who wants to transfer to another ship can do it now. No shame in it. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Finally, Sam Rodriguez raised his hand. Captain, when do we leave? Lisa smiled. In 3 hours. Get ready, people. We're about to show the galaxy what humans are made of. The human fleet moved through hyperspace like arrows shot into the dark. 16 ships against 600. It should have been impossible, but Captain Lisa Brown had seen humans do impossible things before. She stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the stars blur past. In 6 hours they would reach Zephyria Prime. In 6 hours they would either save a civilization or die trying. Captain, Sam Rodriguez called from the pilot station. We're getting a message from the advanced scouts. Put it through. Commander. Jake Martinez appeared on the screen. His face was grim. Lisa, it's worse than we thought. The hegemony isn't just attacking military targets. They're bombing cities, schools, hospitals. This isn't war. It's murder. Lisa felt anger burn in her chest. How many Zephyrian ships are left? Maybe 20. They're protecting evacuation sites, but they can't hold much longer. The hegemony has them surrounded. What about civilians? Millions are trapped on the surface. The hegemony is jamming their transport systems. They can't evacuate. Lisa made her decision quickly. We're going in fast and hard. Tell the Zephyrians to concentrate their remaining ships at evacuation site Delta 7. We'll break through the blockade there. Lisa, the hegemony has 3 battle groups guarding that sector. It's suicide. Then we better make it count. Martinez, out. The screen went dark. Lisa turned to her crew. You heard the man. We're going into hell. Everyone ready? Around the bridge, her people nodded. They were scared, but they were also determined. That was the human way. In engineering, Katie Williams worked frantically on the ship's weapons. She had found a way to boost their power output by 30%, but it would only last for a few minutes before burning out the systems. It's not much, she told herself, but it might be enough. In the Marine Bay, Sergeant Tony Adams checked his equipment one more time. His squad would be going down to the planet's surface to help with evacuations. It was dangerous work, but someone had to do it. Private Mike Johnson, barely 19 years old, looked nervous. Sarge, what if we don't make it back? Tony put a hand on the young man's shoulder. Then we make sure the Zephyrians do. That's the job, son. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian system. What they saw was heartbreaking. The beautiful crystal cities were burning. Huge hegemony ships hung in space like black spiders, shooting down at the planet below. My God, whispered Dr. Helen Murphy, who was aboard to help with alien relations. They're destroying everything. Admiral Nancy Wright's voice came over the communication system from the flagship Independence. All ships, this is Admiral Wright. You can see what we're up against. The odds are terrible, but the cause is right. Let's show these bullies what happens when they pick on our friends. Attack! The human ships spread out and charged toward the hegemony fleet. They were small and fast compared to the enemy ships, but they were also badly outnumbered. The first hegemony ships to notice them were surprised. They had not expected anyone to come help the Zephyrians. When they realized it was just 16 human ships, they almost laughed. That laughter stopped when the human weapons hit their shields. Katie Williams's modifications worked perfectly. The Defiance's weapons cut through a hegemony destroyer like a hot knife through butter. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of fire. Yes! Sam Rodriguez shouted, spinning the ship away from return fire. Take that, you bullies! But the humans were still outnumbered. For every hegemony ship they destroyed, 3 more appeared. The enemy began to surround them. That's when Lisa made a desperate call. All ships, execute Plan Alpha. We're going for the evacuation site. Everything else is secondary. The human fleet formed up around the Defiance and punched through the hegemony lines. It was like trying to run through a forest fire, but they made it. At evacuation site Delta 7, they found the last 20 Zephyrian ships trying to protect thousands of transport vessels. The Zephyrian Admiral Kethavor was shocked to see them. Captain Brown, he said over the radio. You came. You actually came. Of course we came, Lisa replied. That's what friends do. How many civilians do you have? Over 2 million. But our transports are slow. The hegemony keeps attacking them. Not anymore. We'll cover the evacuation. Get your people out of here. Tony Adams and his Marines launched in small shuttles toward the planet's surface. They found Zephyrian cities in ruins, but also found families hiding in caves and underground. Shelters, come on, Tony shouted to a group of Zephyrian children. We're here to help. The children were scared, but their parents recognized the human uniforms. The Zephyrians had seen human movies and shows. They knew humans were the ones who never gave up, never left anyone behind. One small Zephyrian girl, barely as tall as Tony's waist, handed him a crystal pendant. For luck, she said in broken English. Tony smiled and put the pendant around his neck. Thanks, kid. We're going to get you somewhere safe. But getting them safe was not easy. Hegemony ground forces were landing all over the planet. They had orders to kill every Zephyrian they found. The evacuation became a running battle. Human Marines fought street by street, building by building, buying time for civilian transports to escape. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they would not give up. In space, the battle was just as fierce. The human ships darted between the larger hegemony vessels, using their speed and maneuverability to stay alive. But they were taking damage. The destroyer Courage lost its main engines and started to drift. The cruiser Valiant had a hole blown in its side. The humans were fighting harder than anyone had ever seen, but it might not be enough. Then something happened that no one expected. A message came through on all frequencies. It was from the Hegemony Fleet Commander, Lord Thexmol. Human Fleet. This is Lord Thexmol of the Hegemony. You are outnumbered 100-1. Surrender now and we will allow you to return to your pathetic little world. Continue this foolishness and we will destroy Earth after we finish with these crystal vermin. Lisa Brown's response was broadcast across the entire system. Lord Thexmol, this is Captain Lisa Brown of the Earth ship Defiance. We have a message for you from the human race. Go to hell. The transmission cut off. Across the galaxy, other species listening to the battle stopped what they were doing. The humans had just told the most powerful military force in the galaxy to go to hell. Some thought it was brave. Others thought it was stupid. But everyone agreed it was the most human thing they had ever heard. The battle continued. The evacuation continued. And slowly, transport by transport, the Zephyrian civilians began to escape. But the humans were running out of time, ships, and ammunition. Soon, the hegemony would overwhelm them completely. That's when the miracle happened. New ships began appearing at the edge of the system. Not many, just a few dozen. But they were not hegemony ships. They were Andronian vessels. Small, fast ships that had quietly left their home fleet. Behind them came Trilaxian fighters, then ships from half a dozen other species. Admiral Nancy Wright could hardly believe it. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves. The reply came from an Andronian captain. Admiral Wright, this is Captain Velnash of the Andronian ship Freedom. We couldn't let you fight alone. Some things are more important than politics. The tide of battle began to turn. The human-led alliance was still outnumbered, but now they had hope. They had proven that not everyone in the galaxy was a coward. The evacuation continued. The battle for Zephyria Prime had become something no one expected. What started as Earth's lonely stand had grown into something bigger. Ships from 12 different species now fought alongside the humans, and more were arriving every hour. Admiral Nancy Wright watched the tactical display from the bridge of the Independence. The Alliance fleet had grown to over 200 ships, but the hegemony still had 3 times that number. Status report, she called out. We've evacuated 60% of the civilians, reported Commander Sarah Lewis. But the hegemony is bringing up their heavy ships. Planet crackers are moving into position. Nancy felt her stomach drop. Planet crackers were massive weapons designed to destroy entire worlds. If they got into position, nothing could save Zephyria Prime. How long until they're in range? She asked. 4 hours, maybe 5. Down on the planet's surface, Sergeant Tony Adams and his Marines were still pulling civilians out of the wreckage. The fighting had moved into the crystal cities themselves, and every street was a battleground. "Adams, we need to move," shouted Private Mike Johnson. "Hegemony troops are 2 blocks away." Tony looked at the group of Zephyrian families they were protecting. There were about 50 of them, including many children. The nearest evacuation point was 6 blocks away through hostile territory. "We can make it," Tony said. "Stay together, keep low, and follow me." The group moved through the ruined streets. The crystal buildings around them were broken and burning, but they still sparkled in the light. Even in destruction, Zephyria Prime was beautiful. They had made it 3 blocks when the Hegemony soldiers found them. "Contact!" Mike shouted, raising his rifle. The firefight was short but intense. The Marines used the crystal formations as cover, and their superior training showed. Within minutes, the Hegemony soldiers were retreating, but they would be back with more troops. "Double time," Tony ordered. "Move, move, move." In space, Captain Lisa Brown was having problems of her own. The Defiance had taken heavy damage, and half her weapons were offline. But she kept fighting, using the ship's speed to stay ahead of the larger Hegemony vessels. "Sam, take us around that debris field," she ordered. "Katie, how are those repairs coming?" "Almost done, Captain," Katie Williams called from engineering. "But I need 5 more minutes." "You've got 2, Lisa replied as enemy fire exploded around them. Sam Rodriguez was sweating as he piloted the ship through the wreckage of other vessels. The Defiance twisted and turned like a dancer, avoiding weapons fire that should have destroyed them. "Lisa," came Admiral Wright's voice over the radio, "we need you to lead a strike on the planet Crackers. If those things get into position, it's over." Lisa looked at her damaged ship and tired crew. Then she looked at the tactical display showing the massive Hegemony weapons moving toward the planet. "Roger that, Admiral. Defiance leading Strike Group Alpha." But as the human ships moved to attack the planet Crackers, something unexpected happened. A new ship appeared at the edge of the system. It was huge, bigger than anything they had seen before. It was the Hegemony flagship, personal vessel of Lord Commander Thexmal himself. "All ships, this is Lord Thexmal," came the transmission. "I am tired of these games. You have 1 hour to surrender all forces, or I will personally destroy every ship in this system." The transmission ended and the massive ship began moving toward the battle. It was armed with weapons that could destroy a dozen ships with 1 shot, but the Allies did not surrender. Instead, something remarkable happened. Dr. Helen Murphy, working with Zephyrian scientist Veltar aboard the Independence, made a breakthrough. They had been studying how Zephyrian crystal technology worked, and they discovered something amazing. "Admiral Wright," Helen called excitedly, "the Zephyrian crystals can amplify our weapons. If we can create a network of their ships and ours, we can boost our firepower by 300%. "How long do you need?" Nancy asked. 10 minutes to set up the network, but we need all ships to work together perfectly." Nancy made the call. "All Allied ships, this is Admiral Wright. We're going to try something new. Follow the technical instructions from Dr. Murphy exactly. This is our only chance." Across the Allied fleet, human and alien crews worked together to link their ships through Zephyrian crystal technology. It had never been tried before, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Meanwhile, Tony Adams and his group reached the evacuation point. The transport ship was waiting, but Hegemony forces were closing in from all sides. "Get them aboard," Tony shouted to his Marines. "I'll cover the rear." The Zephyrian families ran for the transport ship. Tony and his men held off the enemy soldiers, but they were almost out of ammunition. That's when the little Zephyrian girl who had given Tony the crystal pendant ran back to him. "Human soldier," she called. "Take this." She handed him a small crystal device. "It's a shield generator. My father made it. It will protect you." Tony activated the device, and a shimmering barrier appeared around his position. The Hegemony weapons bounced off harmlessly. "Thanks, kid," Tony said with a grin. "Now get on that ship." In space, the crystal network was complete. Every Allied ship was connected through Zephyrian technology, and their weapons were now 3 times more powerful than before. "All ships," Admiral Wright announced. "Target the planet crackers. Fire on my mark." The combined fleet opened fire. Beams of energy, boosted by Zephyrian crystals, lanced across space. The first planet cracker exploded in a brilliant flash, then the second, then the third. Lord Thexamol watched in shock as his superweapons were destroyed one by one. Impossible, how are they doing this? But the Allies were not done. With the planet crackers destroyed, they turned their attention to the hegemony fleet itself. The crystal-boosted weapons cut through enemy ships like paper. For the first time, in the battle, the hegemony forces began to retreat. "They're running!" Sam Rodriguez shouted with joy. But Lord Thexamol was not finished. His flagship turned toward the Independence, determined to destroy the Allied command ship. "Admiral," Sarah Lewis warned, "the flagship is coming right at us. All weapons targeted on our position." Nancy Wright looked at the massive enemy ship, bearing down on them. She thought about Earth, about the Zephyrians, about all the species that had found the courage to fight. "All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship. Everything we have." The entire Allied fleet turned toward Lord Thexamol's ship. Crystal-boosted weapons from dozens of species fired at once. The combined firepower was incredible, but the flagship was heavily armored. It took the punishment and kept coming. "Nancy," came Lisa Brown's voice over the radio. "I have an idea. It's crazy, but it might work." "I'm listening." "The Defiance is fast enough to get inside their shields. If I can ram their main weapon, it might cause a chain reaction." Nancy felt her heart stop. "Lisa, that's suicide." "Maybe. But it's the only way to stop them." Before Nancy could respond, Lisa had cut the transmission. The Defiance accelerated toward the massive flagship, dodging weapon fire as it closed the distance. "Sam, you know this is crazy, right?" Lisa said to her pilot. Sam Rodriguez grinned. "Captain, crazy is what we do best." The Defiance shot toward the flagship like a missile. Behind them, the entire galaxy watched and waited to see if a small human ship could stop the most powerful vessel in space. The Defiance raced toward the massive hegemony flagship like a bullet aimed at the heart of tyranny. Captain Lisa Brown gripped her command chair as weapons fire exploded around them. 30 seconds to impact," Sam Rodriguez called out, his hands steady on the controls despite the impossible odds. But then something unexpected happened. Admiral Kethvor's voice crackled over the radio from his damaged Zephyrian ship. "Captain Brown, we will not let you die alone. The Windshaper is coming with you." "Kethvor, no," Lisa shouted. "Your ship is barely holding together." "Then we will hold together long enough," the Zephyrian admiral replied calmly. "Friends do not abandon friends." The battered Zephyrian ship moved alongside the Defiance, its crystal hull glowing with inner light. Together, the two ships charged toward the flagship. Lord Thexamol watched them coming and laughed. "2 small ships against my flagship? This is madness." But as the ships got closer, something began to happen. The Zephyrian crystals on Kethvor's ship started to resonate with the crystal network that connected the Allied fleet. Energy began, building, growing stronger and stronger. "Lisa," came Dr. Helen Murphy's excited voice over the radio. "The crystal resonance is creating a feedback loop. If you can hit their main weapon at the exact moment the resonance peaks, the whole ship will blow." Katie Williams finished from engineering. "But the timing has to be perfect." Lisa looked at her crew. Sam was focused on flying. Katie was monitoring the crystal resonance. Everyone was doing their job, even though they knew they might die in the next few seconds. "Admiral Kethvor," Lisa called to the Zephyrian ship. "Can you amplify the resonance?" "Already doing it, Captain. The crystals are singing the song of friendship across the stars." Lisa smiled despite everything. Even facing death, the Zephyrians talked about friendship and songs. On the flagship, Lord Thexamol realized something was wrong. His ship's sensors were detecting massive energy buildup from the approaching vessels. "All weapons, destroy those ships now," he ordered. The flagship's guns opened fire, but the 2 small ships danced between the weapon beams. Sam Rodriguez was flying like his life depended on it because it did. 10 seconds, Katie called out. The resonance is almost at peak. 5 seconds. Peak resonance now. Impact, Sam shouted. The Defiance and the Windshaper struck the flagship's main weapon at the exact same moment. The crystal amplified energy explosion was spectacular. Light brighter than a star-filled space as the flagship's weapon systems overloaded. But something amazing happened. Instead of being destroyed, both small ships were caught in the crystal energy field and thrown clear. Of the explosion, they tumbled through space, damaged but alive. The flagship was not so lucky. The weapon overload spread through its entire hull. Lord Thexmol had just enough time to scream in rage before his ship exploded in the biggest fireworks show the galaxy had ever seen. Across the hegemony fleet, soldiers and officers stared in shock. Their most powerful ship, their leader, their symbol of invincibility was gone. Destroyed by two small ships working together. That broke their spirit. One by one, hegemony ships began to retreat. Within an hour, the entire enemy fleet was running away, leaving Zephyria Prime in Allied hands. On the surface, Sergeant Tony Adams watched the enemy ships flee and allowed himself to smile. The little Zephyrian girl who had given him the shield generator was safe aboard an evacuation transport, along with millions of other civilians. "We did it," Private Mike Johnson said in amazement. "We actually did it." "Yeah," Tony replied, touching the crystal pendant around his neck. "We did." The evacuation continued, but now it was organized and safe. Human ships worked alongside vessels from dozens of species to help the Zephyrian people find new homes. Some went to other worlds in their system. Others chose to travel to Earth or other allied planets. 3 days later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered on the space station above Zephyria Prime. The Galactic Council wanted to claim credit for the victory, but nobody was buying it. President Amy Foster arrived on Air Force One to personally address the gathering. She was accompanied by Admiral Wright, Dr. Murphy, and the other heroes of the battle. 3 days ago, Amy began, the galaxy abandoned the Zephyrians to die. Every major power turned their back on innocent people because it was easier than doing what was right. The representatives from the major powers looked uncomfortable. They had come to try to make peace with Earth. But Amy was not finished. Today, those same powers want to pretend they supported us all along. They want to claim credit for a victory they tried to prevent. Well, we have a message for them. Amy looked around the room. Earth is withdrawing from the Galactic Council permanently. We are forming a new alliance with species that believe friendship is more important than politics. The room erupted in argument. The major powers were angry and scared. If Earth led a new alliance, it could change the balance of power in the galaxy. But the smaller species, the ones who had sent ships to help in the battle, were excited. They had found something they had been looking for their whole lives. Someone who would stand up for what was right. Ambassador Carl Davis stepped forward with a crystal tablet. "The Charter of the Free Alliance," he announced. "Any species that promises to defend the innocent and stand by their friends can join. No politics, no committees, no voting to abandon people when it gets difficult." One by one, representatives from the species that had fought in the battle came forward to sign. The Zephyrians were first, followed by the Androrians, the Trilaxians, and others. Within a week, over 50 species had joined the Free Alliance. They were mostly smaller powers, but together they represented a significant force in the galaxy. The major powers of the Galactic Council tried to pressure the Alliance members to change their minds, but it did not work. The smaller species had found their courage, and they would not give it up. 6 months later, Captain Lisa Brown stood on the bridge of the New Earth ship Friendship, named after the Zephyrian children's song. She was leading a patrol of the Zephyrian system, making sure it stayed safe. "Captain," Sam Rodriguez called from the pilot station, "we're getting a transmission from the surface." The screen showed Veltar, the Zephyrian scientist who had helped develop the crystal weapon network. She was standing in a new crystal city that sparkled even brighter than the old ones. "Captain Brown," Beltar said with a smile. The children wanted to send you something. The image changed to show hundreds of young Zephyrians singing. It was the same song Dr. Murphy had played in the White House Situation Room, but now it had new verses. Verses about humans who came from far away to help friends in need. Verses about standing together when the galaxy turned away. Lisa felt tears in her eyes as she listened. This was why they had fought. Not for glory or power, but for the simple idea that friends do not abandon friends. Tell them we got the message, Lisa said, and tell them we'll always be here if they need us. The transmission ended, but the song continued in Lisa's heart. Across the galaxy, other Free Alliance ships were having similar experiences. They had learned that sometimes the smallest acts of courage could change everything. The Galactic Council still existed, but it was weaker now. Many species had seen what happened when you valued politics over principles, and they did not like it. The hegemony still existed too, but they were more careful now. They had learned that attacking innocent people might bring the humans and their allies down on them, and somewhere in space, Sergeant Tony Adams was training new Marines on a Free Alliance base. He still wore the crystal pendant the little Zephyrian girl had given him, and he told her story to every new recruit. Remember, he would say, we don't fight because we hate our enemies. We fight because we love our friends. The galaxy had learned something important in the battle for Zephyria Prime. When good people stand together, they can face any threat. When friends refuse to abandon friends, they become something stronger than any weapon. The Free Alliance grew stronger every year, proving that the best way to keep peace is to show bullies that their victims are not alone. And in the children's songs sung on 100 worlds, they remembered the day Earth stood up to an entire galaxy and said, we do not abandon our friends.